So the benefits of being your own boss, largely they are to do with the freedom and flexibility to work the way you want to work. So these are quite well documented anyway, just about freelancing or being your own boss in general. But I've tried to put a spin onto medical writing and medical communications here. But the first one is that I have freedom and flexibility to work on the projects you like. So as you read before, I was really working on projects I didn't want to work on when I was in that burnout situation. When you're a freelancer, you have more autonomy over your work and your workload. You can work when you want, however much you want, and also on what you want to do. So for me, that's your usual traditional medical communications projects like manuscripts, congress activities. So now that's kind of what I try to prioritize when I'm trying to find work as a freelancer. If someone does offer me somewhere, which I'm not really used to, I can say I can do it, but I don't have tons of experience on it. So I definitely prioritize working what I want to work on. You also have the freedom and flexibility to work when you like. This is very important for some people. You can create your own schedule. Some people are night owls. They want to sleep all day. As long as your client accepts that you will do that and you will deliver the work when they want it, and you're free to do that. Some people that work on weekends or certain days so that they can align their working schedule with their partners. You have the freedom and flexibility to do that. You can also work where you like. You're not tied to one location. So for me, I like working in my office. I'm a creature of comforts. I have, my exercise bike. I have my, pictures on my wall. It's where I want to work. But some people might want to work abroad or co-work. I can remember an example of a freelancer that I used to work with, and she just used to tour Australia in a van. And when she got somewhere, she'd park up a van on a beach. She'd do some medical writing as a freelancer, send the work, pack up away, and she'd be off to another beach again until her next gig. So you have that possibility as a freelancer, which is just almost impossible when you work for somebody else. And you also have the freedom and flexibility to work with the clients that you choose to. So we don't get on with everyone. I've been lucky that I've got on with most people that I work with when I was at agency, but there's been some where, there's just been clashes of personalities, or there's been clashes with the way we work, and we just haven't got on. So when you're working with somebody else and there's a business need for you to remain with that client, you're almost tied together and you can't get away. But as a freelancer, if you have a fussy client who you don't like working with, you just deliver that work in a nice professional manner and think, okay, I'll move on, and you have a choice that you don't need to work with. So you also have more control over certain aspects of your work. Earning potential is a massive one for some people. So as I mentioned before, when I opened that invoice that freelancer mistakenly sent me, I was blown away by the rates that they were charging for an equivalent quality of work as what I was delivering and getting paid for at an agency. So you're able to set your own rates. So you could either try to aim work as much as what you're working at an agency and then considerably more. Your ceiling's a lot higher. Or you could choose to work considerably less because you're charging more per hour. You could bring home about the same amount of money. So you have that control. There's also work-life balance. So you have greater flexibility to work when you want and to do stuff which you might not necessarily be able to do at night. I remember when I first started it and I didn't have as much work on it. It was quite liberating just to go and meet friends in the day, or to to go and exercise or go for a run in the sun in the summertime when you just don't have that option to do so when you're working for someone 9 to 5 in an office. You also have more control over your skill set. So when I was working at an agency, I had to do a bit of line management and reviewing of medical writing, but that's where it ended. There was no business need for me to learn any more skills, really. But when you're a freelancer and you're your own boss, you have to learn all these new skills. You need to know about the responsibilities of being a director, what you need to do to run a company, accountancy and taxes, all these things that you need to learn. And of course, you are your own IT support. So if your printer breaks down, it's up to you to fix it. Or if your laptop breaks, or if your laptop crashes and you need to open it up, or you need to find someone to fix it. You need all these qualities. So as I mentioned before, this will be a balanced presentation. I am very, very pro freelance, so I'm all for mentioning the benefits of being a freelancer, but there are risks as well. And these are very important risks. This page is mostly just all about finances. So as a freelancer, you won't have as many financial safety nets as you do when you're working for somebody else, particularly an agency. You'll have no employee benefits. And I've listed 4 here: health insurance, sick pay, maternity leave, and bonus. I think the most important, I'd say, are health insurance and sick pay. So as a freelancer, there's no greater leveler than not getting paid when it comes to being sick. I've worked in some right states of being sick, just because you have a tight deadline which you need to meet, and you might not have been engaged in any contracts for the past month, so you need to be paid. I remember being a right sick, I could hardly get out of bed, and it turned out that I had influenza A at the time, but my wife was away and I had the kids, so I had to just keep working and keep parenting and stuff. When if you work for an agency, you simply take a couple of days off sick and still get paid. There's also the factor of inconsistent income. So freelancing and being self-employed is epitomised by feast or famine work. So sometimes you'll have so much work that you're just in a right state. You don't know how you're going to deliver it all. You might have to cancel social plans in the evenings or work weekends because you have so much work that you need to deliver. But then the next month you might have nothing, and you're just completely worried about when the next gig is going to come in, where you're going to get work from. And of course, it's not just when you have work, but also when you deliver work. It's not always the case that you're going to get paid. This isn't so much a problem with larger clients. There's a lot of mitigation strategies where you could take them to court or something, but for smaller clients, if they don't pay you, sometimes they never have the intention of paying you. So you might actually deliver that work and just never get paid. It's just something that has to be accepted, unfortunately. There's taxes and accounting as well. So sometimes if you don't have any work for a month and then you finally get a project, you deliver it, you've been paid, and you see that invoice and your eyes light up, but you have to consider that not all of that money is yours. You have to set some money aside for taxes. You have to set some money aside for expenses. You can't go spending it all. It's a key lesson to learn as a freelancer. You also need to purchase equipment as well. And we take this for granted. Again, when we work for agencies, when you have all this wonderful new technology around you, which allows you to do your work. But when you actually go become a freelancer, you need to purchase this all. So, laptops aren't cheap nowadays. I think my one cost almost £2,000 and needs replacing every few years to make sure that it's up to date and nice and secure. But it's not just your laptops, you need keyboards, you need your mouse, printer software, pretty much everything which allows you to deliver that work. And of course, if it breaks, you need to go out and either get it repaired or buy some new equipment. So it can be quite expensive. There's also some struggles related with freelancing. The key ones are social aspects, including isolation. So I think this is particularly the case if you come from a nice, lively, fast-paced, busy office or environment, and then you just go to working in your kitchen or your office by yourself. It can be quite lonely. Personally, I quite like it. I like having music on, the window open, no one disturbing me. Even when I'm writing manuscripts, you want to be in that sort of focused state of mind, and you don't want frequent disturbances disrupting your sort of your mental gears. But some people can feel quite lonely. I think particularly if you're a junior writer and you might need that brainstorming with other people. It can be quite intimidating and lonely. Fortunately, nowadays we have Teams and Zoom and stuff, but I can't imagine how difficult it must have been for freelancers, say, 15 years ago, before the advent of this wonderful technology and webcams and stuff. It must have been so hard. You may struggle to deal with the fact that every client is a boss. So we have this wonderful vision of becoming a freelancer and then you are the boss and no one tells you what to do. But really, every client is your boss and you have many, many bosses. Each new client is a new boss. An example here is that I think Monday night I was working till about 10 p.m, 11 p.m. to deliver some work. But Tuesday morning I was working for another client and they don't care that I was working till 10, 11 o'clock the night before. They want me at 9 a.m, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, working on something completely different. So that's completely unrelated to the previous day. So it's sometimes hard to juggle that. When you work for agency, if you have a late night, your manager might say the next day, take the morning off. We're looking after you, take the morning off. You don't have a person to look after you except for yourself when you're a freelancer. Another struggle is accepting rejection. Rejection can come in many, many forms. When you're a freelancer, you can be rejected at an interview for a project that you might have hoped you were going to get. And I think it's quite soul destroying as well if you have a couple of rejections in a row and it's leading to you not having any money. It can be quite hard. But it's also a form of rejection when you deliver some work which you're quite happy with, but a client might not agree with its quality. Particularly if it leads to them not paying you, then it can be a bitter pill to swallow. But it's unfortunately something that we all have to learn to live with as freelancers. And the last one here is sort of tied to that. It's ultimate responsibility. So you are the product as a freelancer, and everything is your responsibility. There's nowhere to hide if you make a mistake. If you work for a nice big agency or a nice big company and you make a mistake, you've often got a line manager or someone superior to you who can take a bit of the blame, put an arm around you, look after you. When you're by yourself as a freelancer with your own business, everything is your fault. There's nowhere to hide. You just need to learn from your mistake and move on.